Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Sorry, I'm checking my purse to make sure my key is in here. Yes, thank you so much for joining my channel. I am Tiffany, and this channel shares with you guys my single mother by choice journey slash IVF journey. So if this is your first time watching, thank you so much for stopping by. And for those of you who have been following me since the beginning of my journey, thank you so much for continuing to hang in there with me. Go ahead right now, please, please, please. If you haven't done so, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell so that you can get updates when I upload new content. It does not hurt to like. It does not hurt to like. So even if it's a thumbs down, like, thumbs up, thumbs down, something. Give me something. So anyway, I wanted to provide you guys, let me close my computer. I wanted to provide you guys with an update. It has been a while. This is a long awaited video, y'all. I mean, I have attempted multiple times to record this video, and every time I go to record, there is some type of snafu, mishap, the phone dies, something. It's always something. So I have been meaning to get to the video, and finally today I said, let me go ahead and do it while I'm calm, while it's on my mind, and I'm at the office. I'm not tempted to jump into bed because these days I'm just tired as all get out. So let me just go ahead and do the video now. But anyway, last time I recorded, I believe, was in January. And I think in January, well, not I think, I know that in January I was starting a new transfer cycle. So just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, if it's been a while for you, or if you're new to my channel, I had gone through IVF, and I had a transfer back in November of last year that ended in a miscarriage, and then I prepared my body for a second transfer in January. So my last video, if you check my page, my last video shares with everyone the process that I was going through to get ready for the transfer, and I think I may have even shared just kind of how I was feeling at the time about the first failed transfer. But nonetheless, it has been a minute. That is the point. It has been a minute. It has been a while. It has been a long time. So updates. I know you're like, stop all that talking and give me the updates. So the update is I am pregnant. I am currently 25 weeks and some change pregnant. Actually, let me be exact. 25. Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. 25 weeks and 3 days pregnant. And okay, that's what I'm gonna say for right now. So I don't know if you can see, but I've got a belly here. I don't feel like standing up, so I got a little belly here. Hopefully y'all can see it. But yes, I am 25 weeks and 3 days, and so let me start with we're gonna go back to January. I'm gonna take it back to January. So January, I had my second transfer. I went through that process. I believe we transferred on February 18th. Yes, it was the 18th because it was a little after Valentine's Day. February the 18th, I transferred 2 embryos of the 12 that I had left. So I currently have 10 embryos left. And they tell you, as you're going through, IVF, the doctors tell you don't test, because, you can get a positive test result and it end in a miscarriage, or you can get a negative test result and be testing too early for it to pick up on the pregnancy. So they tell you don't test, wait until you're beta, which is when you come in the office and they do a blood draw and get a more accurate number of how much pregnancy hormone you have in your body. And at my clinic, that test is done 12 days after transfer. So I had 12 days to stress, and I say stress. I had 12 days to stress over my results. But of course, me being me, I definitely tested. And I tested not only because curiosity, I'm curious. I want to know. One, two, it wouldn't have mattered either way. For me, disappointment is disappointment. Whether I get it, 3 days before or 12 days after, disappointment to me is disappointment. And I've had my share of disappointments as it relates to, miscarriages, child loss. So what's one more disappointment for me? So I'm a test. And then the other thing too is I wanted to capture a gradual progression line should I, have been pregnant. So I wanted it to start out with, no lines at all, to faint lines, to blazing pink or blue lines. That was my desire. And I wanted that, of course, to be a part of just my IVF journey story, something to share, something to tell you guys. So I decided immediately I was going to test. And now this is the ridiculous part. I started testing one day after transfer. Now, one day after transfer, nothing is really happening other than the embryo is like sitting there and probably burying itself into the uterine lining. And at this point, your body hasn't like really built up enough pregnancy hormone for it to be registered. Definitely not on a pregnancy test, let alone maybe in the lab, but definitely not on a pregnancy test, a home pregnancy test. So, but I needed the white line. Y'all get where I'm going, right? I needed the white line. I didn't want to start out with the faint line. I wanted the white line. So, or not the no line at all, the white space, the no line at all. So that's what I did. I started testing one day after. And then I was using the like little cheapy pregnancy test because I knew I was going to be doing a lot of testing. So I went on Amazon and bought like the pregnancy test strips in bulk. They came in like, I think I bought 10 or 15 or something like that. But I think they come in like 10, 15, 20, 50, 100, that kind of thing. So I bought like a pack of 10. I think it was a pack of 10. And I started testing immediately. A day after, of course, nothing. Around day 3, I got a faint line, a faint pink line. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I said, well, if I was thinking to myself, if it's registering faint on this test strip, then I'm pretty sure it's going to register like on a, what's the word I'm looking for? Pregnancy brain is real. Just wanted to say that. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? On like a name brand. That's what I mean. I'm pretty sure it'll show up on a Clear Blue or a First Response, because again, what I was using was kind of like just a, cheapie or whatever. So I had already had the cheapies, and then I had like bought a box or 2 boxes of first response. Now, this is what I will, as an aside, I would say for ladies who are going through IVF and, are very intentional about getting pregnant. These things cost. Listen, and I get it. They definitely cost. You want to use the cheapies for just kind of like what I was doing. I just want to, see the progression line, but you definitely want to use a good reputable pregnancy test when you're actually testing. Okay. And of course, this goes for, the ladies who are maybe not necessarily going through IVF. They're kind of maybe doing a modified process, more like maybe like an IUI or natural, natural with medication assistance, maybe, where the rules are, I guess, a little more flexible, where you can test or you have to test on your own. You're not going to a lab. I would definitely recommend you use a more reputable pregnancy test, and more specifically, I would recommend that you use first response, because first response, one, you can detect up to 6 days before your missed period, I believe. 1, 2, it's pink. Clear blue has the blue dye, and sometimes it leaves evaporation lines, which kind of look like, it looks like an indenture in the pregnancy spot, where in the spot where it's saying yes, you are pregnancy. It kind of leaves an indenture, and it leaves women confused as to whether it's it's an indention line or whether it's a evaporation line. That's what they call it, an evaporation line, or whether it's actually sorry about that. And we're going to keep going because I'm not starting over. Or whether it is a positive pregnancy test. So I stay away from, and this is my recommendation. This isn't anything like, I'm not giving any medical advice or anything like that. I'm not a pregnancy test guru or anything like that. I just know that in my experience, and just being in other groups with other women going through this, that first response, pink dye, is best. If you don't get first response, because first response can be a little on the expensive side, at least get a test that is pink dye. Kind of stay away from blue. If you stay with blue and it looks like there may be like an evaporation line, you may want to make sure that you have multiple tests over the next couple of days. Do follow-up tests over the next couple of days to see if the line gets darker. So anyway, that was an aside. But I had like 2 packs of first responses, one that was digital, another that had like a variety. So in that pack, it was like 5. It had like a digital yes or no, maybe like 2 digital yes or no's. It had like 2 regular, and then like 3 strips or something like that, all in one pack, like 5 or 6 tests all in one pack. And then there was another pack that I had that was just digital. So I didn't want to break that pack. I didn't want to break that pack open just yet. So I went against my better judgment. And this is after I got a faint line on the strip. So I went against my better judgment, and I went to a local pharmacy, and I got a blue dye test. And I didn't get a blue dye test. I got a clear blue digital test because I wanted it to say yes or no. Even though I had digitals already, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I just didn't want to touch those. And I will say I had some of those left over from my first transfer. So I think I was like, in a sense, kind of, that's for the real deal or something. I don't know. But anyway, I went out and I bought another one. So I bought a cheap digital, and the cheap digital ended up saying not pregnant. So in my mind, I'm justifying. That's why I didn't open my good pregnancy test. That's why I didn't open those, because it would have been a waste and I would have been upset. So that's kind of how I initially registered the not pregnant when I saw it. But I said, you know what? Let me bust this thing open. And because what you can do too with the digitals is you can pop them open and pull the strip out. It looks just like a regular pregnancy test strip. In the digitals, it just gives a digital answer. So I popped the strip out, and lo and behold, there was clearly a second line. And mind you, now I took that test, I say within at least maybe 2 to 3 hours after I took the initial test. And typically, as you urinate, your HCG levels kind of dilute, if you will. So in other words, if I drink a lot of water, that may mess with the test results. If I take a test with, in the morning with the first morning urine, that's going to be highly concentrated. So meaning the first PP you got to take in the morning, that's going to be highly concentrated. But if I take a test, maybe let's just say 2 or 3 hours after that, it's not going to be as concentrated. So I took it maybe 2 or 3 hours after the initial, and I still got a line. So I'm like, oh shoot, this is it. This is positive. This is definitely positive. So that was day 3. And then I progressively took tests day 4, day 5, day 6. And of course, by this time I had broken into my good stash, and I had multiple upon multiple pink lines, positives, yes, pluses, because with first response, it says yes plus or plus yes or something like that. And I was absolutely elated. I was so excited. I was besides myself. I knew that I was pregnant for real, pregnant. When I take a shower, I brush my teeth in the shower, and I went to go, I think it was day 5 or 6, post transfer, by the way, and I went to go brush my teeth, and I gagged. And that's how I knew. I was like, oh, that's it. So I think that was around the time, maybe day 5. It had been maybe day 5 to day 7, something like that. That was around the time I said, you know what, I'm going ahead and tell my family. So I told my mom, my dad, and my sisters. And of course, they were excited about it. And of course, we had beta day, which was the 12th day after. I think by this time we were looking at, I think beta was March 1st, if I'm not mistaken, because I got the transfer was on the 18th. So 12 days after that would have been March 1st. So March 1st, I went in for my beta, and the initial beta, I went into my doctor's office, and they give you the results the same day. Usually, if you go in the morning, you get it early afternoon, something like that. Well, that was based on how it went the first time I did my transfer. So I went in that morning, got my blood drawn, and the nurse called me back roughly about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was at the office, and she was basically like, congratulations, you're pregnant, which of course I had already known that. And I wanted to know what my numbers were. So the first transfer that I had, my numbers were really low, and I talk about that in previous videos, in kind of like the scare that I had with the numbers being so low. But my first transfer, my pregnancy test came up positive, but my beta number was like 53. And for where I was, in the pregnancy, it should have been a little bit higher than that based on what they told me. But they said so long as the numbers continue to double, we were in the clear. And it did. I mean, the numbers did double. I think I went from like 53 to 106 to, I forgot what the third number was. It was doubling, but it was kind of doubling slow. So this time around, I was just like, well, what are my numbers? I want to know. And she said, girl, I don't know how many babies you got up in there, but you have a lot. She said, your beta, it was over 6,000. How about that? I forgot the actual number, but it was over 6,000. And I was like, you are joking me. Now, I transferred 2 embryos. So in my mind, I'm like, both of them stuck. Because the first transfer, I transferred 2 embryos as well, but only one stuck. And then, of course, the one that stuck ended in a miscarriage. This time, I transferred 2 embryos again. And I'm like, with this number, both of them had to stick. Both of them had to stick. And from what I've heard, the numbers are subjective. So you can have, let's just say, I have a beta after 12 days post 5-day transfer, meaning my embryo was 5 days old, 12 days after that. So you might as well say 17 days after conception, okay? My beta is 6,000. There may be another woman who, same scenario, 5-day embryo, 12 days post transfer, 17 days after conception. Her numbers may be 2,000, but we still both have twins. We still, or have a multiple pregnancy. So I've heard that although there are ranges, you can Google them yourself. You will find that there are a lot of different kind of ranges, especially when it comes to singles. I feel like twins and multiples, you don't really see too many charts that show beta levels and where they should be in what week of pregnancy. But definitely I've seen a lot with singletons that just give a wide variety of ranges. And it's really hard to kind of tell if your beta number is within the range that it needs to be for the weeks that you are pregnant. And also be able to tell whether your pregnancy is like on schedule, on track, or viable, if you will. So I have just kind of learned, not through medical professionals or anything like that, that you don't put too much weight on the number. But I couldn't deny that a beta over 6,000 was extremely freaking high. Like if you look at that on a chart for singleton, I mean I don't know where exactly it is in the weeks, but it's not within like the first 2, which is, kind of where I was. Well, actually I would have been technically in the first month of gestation, because they count back to your last menstrual cycle. And the last cycle that I had was January 29th. So at this point, I'm a little over a month, if you will. So anyway, I hope that translated well. But the point I'm trying to make is that 6,000 number stuck out to me, and I was like, I have twins. Both of my embryos stuck. I don't care what they say about don't lean too much on the number, because that's high. Excuse me. Plus the nurse had kind of gave me a hint that that was high too. So anyway, I'm excited. I'm overjoyed. I let everybody know, hey y'all, beta confirmed. The number is high. Y'all be prepared. We having twins. And so what they make you do is go in every 2 days after to make sure that your beta numbers are doubling. They want to see at least a 50% increase, but doubling, amazing. So I went in for the second beta 2 days later, got those results back, and I was crushed. I was devastated because the number had only gone up like 200 points. So let's just say I went from 6,000 to 6,200. No bueno. That's not good, because once they fall below the initial number, or the number prior, then that means the pregnancy is not viable, it is not progressing, and you will eventually miscarry. So when I saw that the number had gone up but it had not doubled, I was so, oh my gosh, the wind had just been taken out of my sail, out of my body. I was so disappointed. And the only thing that really saved me really was the fact that I was like, well, I've experienced disappointment. I've experienced miscarriage. I know what this is like. I know what my body's going to go through. I am prepared. And on top of that, I have 10 more embryos, so I have 5 more tries to do this all over again. So I was, I won't say very optimistic, but I was optimistic because I had these choices. I had, these opportunities rather. And so I ended up getting, well, like I said, the initial blood test was done in office. All subsequent blood tests are done at the lab. So the lab actually sends the patient the results before they send the doctor the results, which I think that's a little, I was going to say a cuss word, but I think that's a little jacked up. But anyway, so I ended up actually emailing my nurse ahead of time, and I was like, I got the results. It only went up 200 points. I'm a little disappointed, but I'll be waiting to hear from you. And she hit me up maybe 30, 45 minutes after and was like, hey, how you doing? I see you got the results. Why are you so upset? And I was just like, I'm just disappointed. The numbers didn't go up. And she was like, but still, that's a high number. Let's just remain optimistic. Let's keep our hopes up. She was just really encouraging, saying some encouraging stuff. And I was like, okay, no problem. She was like, I'm going to have you go for a third, which is typical. And so I went for a third beta. And I'd be damned, y'all. I be double damned if I went in for that third beta and got the results later on that afternoon, and the results said 28,000. So if you think about it, right, there had to be some kind of lab mix-up, snafu, something or another with the second one, because the second one was expected to be 12,000. Right? If we're talking about wanting it to double or expecting it to double, then we go from 6 to 12. And then we go from that result doubling from 12 to 24. Mine was 28. So I literally had stared at the results and was zooming in just to make sure that I was seeing what I was seeing, because I'm thinking to myself, is that 2,800 or 28,000? And finally it registered with my brain, that is 28,000, girl. 28,000. So yes, your numbers definitely did, based on the last one, daggum near triple, quadruple, to where it's really supposed to be. And so of course, my nurse calls, confirms your numbers went up. I don't know what happened. She was just like, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was a fluke. I don't know. But that's why, we do what we do, because stuff like that happens. And so I was so excited, y'all. I was I was so elated. I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. So my nurse said, now that we've established that your numbers are increasing, we're going to go ahead and schedule you for an ultrasound, because that's the process. They confirm pregnancy with the ultrasound. Came in for the ultrasound. The ultrasound was the day of my mother's birthday. And I went in for, let me back up. Let me back up. So before I actually went for the ultrasound, around the time that I had gotten the results, the third beta, and before the actual ultrasound to confirm, I was experiencing some bleeding. And the bleeding was pretty light, off and on. And with me having experienced miscarriage in the past, I wanted to chalk it up to, this happens. I even reached out to my nurse and told her, hey, I'm bleeding. It's light, nothing heavy, no cramping or anything like that, but I'm just concerned. And she reassured me that this is a part of the process. Sometimes that happens. Nothing to be worried about. I was still worried. So I actually took myself to the ER, and I emailed my nurse and I told her, sis, I know you told me not to worry, but I'm going to go to the ER, because I just felt like that's what I needed to do for myself. The part of me that has experienced miscarriage and loss and things of that nature needed to know. So I went to the ER. And sure enough, the physician assistant the physician assistant came back with the doctor. I went to the ER. They got me on IVs and stuff like that. They took me in for an ultrasound. They had me sit in the room. And of course, when you go back for the ultrasound, the techs don't tell you anything. They don't give you any information, because the doctor is the one that has to interpret and give you the answer. So I'm like, I'm on pins and needles. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It was raining that day. It was just, oh my gosh. It was just, I just felt so horrible. And I'm back in the room. The PA comes back in with the doctor. And I had already told her my history and everything like that. So she knew that I was going through fertility treatments and stuff. And she said, so when is your next appointment with your fertility doctor? I said, I see the doctor. It had to been maybe another week. I was waiting to be seen by the doctor or seen for an ultrasound. And she was like, okay, well, we have 2 heartbeats. Well, we have 2 heartbeats. There's 2 little babies, 2 sacks, 2 heartbeats. And I instantly cried. And I don't mean like, one of those ugly cries. It was just like one of those cries of relief, cries of joy. Like I was laying back on the bed and I could just feel the tears just sliding to the back of my head, into my hair, onto into my ears. And she was like, yeah, there's two babies there. And what she shared with me, of course, the presence of the doctor, and the doctor did a little more expanding on it, but basically what she shared with me was that I had a subchorionic hematoma that was underneath baby A. And basically what that is like it's a pocket of blood. It typically happens with individuals that have gone through IVF, but it's like a pocket of blood in between the placenta and the uterine wall, I believe. And y'all, please double check behind me, but I believe that's what it is, because I don't want to mislead or give misinformation. But yes, I believe it's like a pocket of blood in between the placenta and the uterine wall. And from what I've read and what was told to me, for the most part, sometimes they resolve themselves. Sometimes they, come back and leave, come back and leave, so you'll have this off and on bleeding, spotting scares, but it won't be anything like huge. Although I have heard women who have had subchorionic hematomas, or they call it subchorionic hemorrhage. I have heard women like experiencing clots and stuff like that. I didn't have that. Mine just was really light bleeding. And where was I going with that? With that, they come and go, and I actually experienced it all the way through, off and on, probably up until week 10. And by this time I was still in week 5, going into week 6 or something like that. So, but the point that I was going to make was that they say they kind of resolve on their own. So either the blood gets absorbed in the body, or it just ends up bleeding out. But it does carry a risk of I didn't say that right. It can lead to miscarriage because, again, you've got this pocket of blood that is in between the placenta and the uterine wall. And I guess with that being an obstruction, there could be issues. They didn't get too deep into that, but there is a risk with having that. But for the most part, it resolves on its own. So I skipped up out of there like happy-go-lucky, like I was Dorothy following the yellow brick road. I skipped up out of there. I was like, listen, I'll take that info long as I know that now it is confirmed there are 2, and there are 2 heartbeats. Long as I know them babies are in there and they is cooking, there's heartbeats, I'm good. I'm not trying to hear nothing about no hematomas and risk of miscarriage. I'm not trying to hear all that. So I was quite excited to hear that. And then, of course, a few days later, I went into my fertility clinic and actually had my ultrasound to confirm with them. And, of course, by this time, they're a little bit bigger, and I can see the heartbeats, and I got to hear the heartbeats, and I cried again, and it has been on and popping since then. Mostly the on and popping for me has been these babies growing daily, and me being very, very ill. I know I shared in one of my previous videos that in my first pregnancy with my son, who I unfortunately lost due to incompetent cervix, he was stillborn at 20 weeks, I experienced hyperemesis gravidarum, and that is basically nausea and vomiting on steroids. This is not your typical, nausea and vomiting, eat some crackers, drink some ginger tea, and everything will be fine. This is not that. This is unrelenting nausea, unrelenting vomiting, to the point of needing medical intervention. And luckily, this time around, which is interesting because I have 2 babies this time and 1 baby the first time, but this time around was not as bad as the first time. The first time I was hospitalized. I think I went to the ER like 2 or 3 times, and then I actually had an admission. I was in the hospital for like 5 days because I was dehydrated, my electrolytes were off, I hadn't eaten in days. It was bad, y'all. It was real bad. But this time around, the first time around I was probably vomiting 20-30 times a day. This time around I was vomiting maybe upwards of 7 times a day, between like 4 and 7 times a day. So anything over 3 is no bueno. So I did have some dehydration, although my electrolytes weren't off. And the only reason why I know that is because I actually ended up going to the ER because I needed fluids because I was completely dehydrated. And I knew that because my lips were chapped. Oh, Jesus, my lips were so chapped, and I hadn't urinated in like a day, and my heart rate was elevated. So when you're dehydrated, your heart rate goes up. But I experienced that this time around, and I am quite proud of myself for being an advocate for myself and letting, providers know I've experienced this before. I know what this is. This is not just nausea and vomiting. Please don't dismiss me. Please don't tell me to go eat some crackers and drink some ginger tea, because that's not going to work. I need IV fluids. And as a matter of fact, I need IV meds like stat, and I need home health care, because I don't need to be coming back and forth to the ER to get fluids and my electrolytes replenished. So I ended up telling my provider, and she was like, okay, well, based on which that situation, there's a little more to that, but I'm gonna save that for another video. But she basically was like, okay, let's go ahead and get you a home health nurse to start coming out. And in between time, I ended up going to the ER and getting some fluids. And then I think maybe like 2 or 3 days later, that's when I had a nurse come out. It might have been a little bit later after that, but a nurse came out, started I don't know if it's called not a PICC line. Anyway, I forgot what kind of line it's called, but basically she put a needle in my hand and started that for me so that I can administer my own fluids. And then I ended up getting a Zofran pump, which is basically this block of a machine that you put medicine in. And I'm being very remedial with this, but it's a big block of a machine. You put medicine in it, and then there are tubes and stuff that you attach to it, and I had to stick it in my stomach, and then medicine would be administered in my stomach 24/7. Well, not 24/7, sorry, for a 24-hour period, or until I guess the medicine ran out of the bag. So I was constantly getting medication, which was necessary because with Hyperemesis Gravidarum, you are constantly sick, constantly sick. I know, not I know, but I have heard stories of women passing out, heard stories of women having to get tubes down their nose and fed that way because they just could not keep anything down. It's rough, y'all. It's rough. So I experienced the HG roughly it started around end of March is when it kind of started and started getting worse. And I did not get relief until probably week 20. So we're talking about from week 6 to about week 20, I was miserable. I was throwing up just about every day. I had gotten to a point maybe around week 15, 16, where I only seemed to get sick on the weekend. I was nauseous and I might throw up once or twice Monday through Thursday. But Friday/Saturday through Sunday, I was throwing up the most. I was miserable. It was bad. It was bad. And so I would spend my whole weekend man down and then have to try to recoup Sunday/Monday and work Monday through Thursday. Luckily, I only work Monday through Thursday. So I had the freedom to just lay up and do nothing pretty much Friday through Sunday. But being sick is just not fun. Being sick is not fun. I missed out on quite a few things. But I was just grateful that I worked for myself. I was grateful that I, had the medical interventions that I had to assist. I was just grateful that I had those things, because if I was working, I would probably be out of work like I had to the first time. The first time I had to go out on short-term disability, and I just don't know that I would have been able to sustain myself financially. But again, I was able to make it. I stopped coming to the office. I worked from home. I began to stagger out my clients to where I could rest in between, which that helped a little bit. I was still sick. I was very much open with my clients early on that I was very ill, because a lot of them saw, the line that was in my hand that was permanent, because you change it out every 9 days, every 7 to 9 days or something like that. But anyway, they could see that. And so I was very open and honest with them that, like, hey, if I come to the session and I look like a hot mess, it's because I've been through it. I just probably threw up before I showed up on the camera. So, and they were very understanding of that. Luckily, I made it through that, and luckily, I didn't have to. I don't think I canceled one client through that whole time. Oh, thank you, Lord. Ooh. Oh, God's love, God's grace, God's coverage, God's protection, and His healing. Ooh, it's everything for me, because, But anyway, I had a moment, y'all. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm just grateful for, like I said, the medical interventions. I'm grateful for understanding patients. I'm grateful for just being able to work for myself, having that freedom and flexibility to rest, because that is really all I've been doing this entire pregnancy is resting. So even to now, to this point, I'm 25 weeks and some change. 25 weeks and some change with the babies, with the twins, baby A and baby B. I'm 25 weeks and some change, and I'm okay. I will say last week was a doozy. I don't know. It decided to come back with a vengeance, and I was throwing up quite a bit. But for the most part, ever since week 20, I've been pretty okay. I've been able to eat. I've been able to drink. Keep things down. I still really don't have like an appetite. I definitely don't have cravings. I know, like, most pregnant women are like, ooh, I'm just craving pickles and ice cream. I don't have that. But I am just grateful to be able to eat. Keep something down. So that is where we are in the process. We are pretty much half baked. I am so sorry that, I'm just now getting to you. July, we daggum there tap dancing on August, knocking on August's door. So it's been 7 months since I've shared anything with you guys, but of course for good reasons, because like I said, for a good majority of this pregnancy, I have been very ill, and I just haven't been in a place to record. But hopefully I'll be able to record more, share more with you guys, what I'm experiencing, my journey. Like I said, I do want to kind of share with you all just the advocacy part of me that has sprung into action to make sure that me and my babies are good, and what I have chosen to do to make sure that we are good. I do want to share with you guys just my tribe, if you will, that I have very intentionally curated to help bolster my mood, bolster my health, bolster my birth outcome, and all that kind of stuff. I really want to share that with you guys. So hopefully I'll get some time to, well, not hopefully, I'll get some time. I want to be intentional about making time to get those videos out to you guys, to share that information with you guys. And of course, moreover, just share with you the progress and how things are going, and what this single mother by choice life is like, pre and post the babies being here, and what it's like to be a twin mom and all that kind of stuff there. So I'm just looking forward to that. So Thank you so much for watching. If you held on to the very, very end, you are a trooper. Thank you so much for, just being present through my rambling and everything else. I hope that you find this video beneficial, helpful, inspiring. If you have any questions for me, I'm definitely open to questions. You can leave it in the comment section. If you are a single mother by choice and you want to share your experiences, with the process and just where you are in your journey, feel free to share. If you are going through IVF or have gone through IVF, your input is so needed. So please feel free to leave a comment. I'm always down for, congratulations, keep it going. I love, love, love when people encourage me. I always need encouragement. So even if you just want to leave a kind and encouraging word, please do that. And again, like this video, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can get updates on when I upload new content. I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.